Hey everybody, Mrs. Bianchi, we're looking at number 5. Gerard has read 65% of his book. The book has 120 pages. How many pages has he read? This is pretty straightforward. It may not be necessary for some of you to do this double tape diagram to map things out. So if you're in that position, then you would want to start making a proportion. So if we're going to make proportions, we'll do our equal sign with our 2 fraction bars, and we're going to say parts and wholes. All right, let's tackle the easy part, which is 65%. It says he read 65% of his book. So 65% means 65 out of 100. And this is what he's read. Now, it might have said what he didn't read, right? So that's a different question. Now, we have to decide, where does the 120 go? The book has 120 pages. So is that the part of the book, or is it the whole book? It would be the whole book. We'll put the 120 over here. And they want to know how many pages has he read. So we're looking for the part. Now, if we were going to map this out on a tape diagram, we would have put the 100% maybe on the bottom, and we would have mapped out 65%, which would be maybe this amount, more than halfway, maybe about like that. And we would have said that this is what he read, which, by the way, would imply that this is what he didn't read. Now, the question could have asked about that. It did not, but sometimes a tape diagram can help organizing your thinking. Now, when you're putting this number where it goes, we need the pages that he read, and possibly the pages that are not read in some cases, but not in this case. And then we have to decide, where's the 120 go? Well, earlier we said that the 120 is the all of it number. All right, let's go back to the proportion. This can be simplified. We can divide both of these by 5 for starters. So this divided by 5, most people know that that's going to be 20, but a lot of people don't know what 65 divided by 5 is, which would require you to do the computation off to the side. 5 goes into 6 once. Subtract it, the 1 left over. Bring down the 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. So it does work out evenly. We predicted that because it does end in a 0 or 5. So 65 divided by 5, we just did that, and we got 13. Now, this red ratio is a little more user-friendly than the 65 to 100 ratio. But still, a lot of people don't like to do the work of figuring out how many times 20 goes into 120. Some people can do that in their head, and if you can, fantastic. So if you're allowed to use a calculator, you have a couple of options. So let's explore the idea of using cross products. Now, if we're using cross products, you can use either the red ratio or the original black ratio, which was a 65 to 100 ratio. But let's try the idea of using the red numbers. So if we use the red numbers, then that means we'd be multiplying 13 times 120. We'd find out what that is. And then the other cross product going the other way is this number times p. So that's 20 times p. Now, I just want to remind you that if we had not simplified this, that would have been perfectly fine. We would have done, instead of putting 13 times 120, we would have written 65 times 120. And instead of writing 20 times p, we could have written 100 times p. All right, but let's press on with the reduced version of it. We'll take out our calculator. Let's get that open. Just to speed things up just a bit, make sure you're writing all this down on your piece of paper. All right, so if we simplify the purple part of this, then we're multiplying 13 times 120. 13 times 120 is this number, 1,560. And that's going to equal still this, so I'm just going to rewrite that. All right, now we have to solve this equation. What's the opposite of multiplying a variable by p? It would be to divide, or I'm sorry, by the opposite of multiplying p with 20 is to divide by 20. So we have to divide both sides by 20. Over here, this will simplify and equal 1, and 1 times p will equal p. let's use the calculator to simplify this. We're going to put this number in first. So we have 1,560 divided by 20. And we get 78. All right, now is that a choice? And let's map it out to make sure it makes sense. So if we were going to put the numbers where they go, we're saying that this is 78 pages that have been read so far. Now, if the question had asked how many are not read, it's my hope that you realize that you could have subtracted the 78 from 120. And if we needed the percent not read, we could have subtracted 65 from 100 to get that. But the question just didn't simply ask for that. But oftentimes these types of questions will include a part B that would ask for that. And if you put it in a tape diagram, you can more easily see what you need to do to answer the question.